Pythagorean theorem. Use the Pythagorean theorem to find the length of the unknown side of a right triangle. So in this case, we're going to give an exact answer and a decimal approximation. So me and Mr. Pythagoras, we go way back. The Pythagorean theorem only works for right triangles. That's all. So you need to have a right triangle. Um, the other thing is it's used when you are looking for one side of the right triangle and you're given the other two. So if you're given two sides and you're looking for the missing side, we can use Pythagorean theorem. It's all about the sides. So some teachers teach their students Pythagorean theorem is a squared plus b squared equals c squared. That doesn't have any context except for if you label a triangle with a, b, and c in the right spots. So c is the hypotenuse of your right triangle. So every right triangle should have this little square, which shows you it's a right angle. And if you draw an arrow across from that square, that will always give you the hypotenuse, which is the longest side of a right triangle. The other two sides are interchangeable. They're both called legs. So A is a leg and B is a leg. So the Pythagorean theorem is pretty much a leg squared plus a leg squared equals the hypotenuse squared. So even if someone tries to trick you and label the sides differently with A, B's, and C's, you'll always be able to get that. Because of the commutative property, it doesn't matter where you put A and B. So we're going to make 3B, B for base. 5, we're going to make A for altitude or height. So we're going to write 5 squared plus 3 squared equals, and let's use x for the hypotenuse. So that's equal to x squared. 5 squared is 25. 3 squared is 9 equals x squared. So I'm just going to rewrite this as x squared equals 34. So if you are asked for an exact answer, the opposite of a square is a square root. So we would have to do a radical on both sides of this equation in order to get rid of that exponent. Now, because of how square roots work, you actually get two answers. You get positive radical 34, and you get negative radical 34. For this specific problem, since we're looking for the length of a side of a triangle, it does not make sense to have a negative answer. So we are not going to use that. So the exact answer is going to be x equals the square root of 34. The reason that's exact is because that is not a perfect square. If you type that into the calculator, it will give you a very long decimal. The decimal is never ending, so it's the only way we can write an exact value. So we're also asking for a 2 decimal place approximation, which means we're going to round to the 100th place. 100th place has 2 zeros, so that is a 2 decimal approximation. When you do the square root of 34, you should get 5.83. Those are your 2 decimals, but you want to keep going. 0, 9, 5, and it continues and continues. Now for us to round to 2 places, that means your number has to stop here. so that your answer has 2 places after the decimal. So we look at the numerical value after, which is 0. If that number is greater than or equal to 5, you round up. So that 3 would round up to 4 because the value would go up to 10 and it would carry. If it's less than 5, we say it rounds down. So in this case, it's 0, so it just goes down to 0. It stays there. So the approximate value is going to be 5.83. And that would be your answer for this.